Hello everyone, what's up? How are you? Hope everything is good. So we're on lesson number 3, the freedom article. Just to do a short recap of what we've talked. Let's see that everything is working. Yeah, seems like Facebook is working, YouTube is working, nice. Okay, so we're in the freedom article of HaSulam, and we've talked about free choice, if you remember, and we've said actually that if we are completely controlled by pain and suffering, meaning that we are compelled to attain not pain and suffering, pleasure and pain. So if we are compelled to attain maximum pleasure, minimum pain, and also the question of what is pleasure is not to us but to education, environment, advertising, etc., then there is a question, do we have a free choice? And if we don't, then what are we doing here? Good. So in order to answer that, HaSulam tries to explain the law of, what's the translation again? The law of casuality, right? That's how you pronounce it. Yeah, casuality. Yeah, that's, I remember that from Google Translate. Casuality. Casuality. Okay, the law of casuality. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So what actually HaSulam says that there are 4 factors or 4 components in each emergent phenomena or in each object in creation, because nothing exists out of absence, meaning come into the world out of nothing, but it's a transformation of something that was before. Then we can speak about 4 different factors. And the first factor we talked about is the source. And we said that this is something that we cannot actually define what it is, but it's the thing that stays the same, doesn't matter the external shape that a thing receives, even the wheat, when it's completely rotten and nothing is left beside information, this is still called the source of the wheat. The second thing we've talked about is the unchanging conduct of cause and effect related to the source own attribute. So we said about how the source determines what we can call cause and effect, the ways of conduct, and these are unchanging. They are unchanging because they are determined by the source, meaning that if there is a wheat, it would be a wheat, it won't be something else, and there is also a sequence in which it will develop, if it will develop, okay? And the third factor is the internal conducts of cause and effect which change by contact with alien forces. So this is something that is determined by the source, but is also changing by external forces, but it's still about cause and effect. Okay, but these are changing and we'll talk about it now. And the last thing will be the contacts of cause and effect. Why am I drawing cause and effect like this? I don't know. But cause and effect of alien things, meaning that they are completely disconnected from the source, but they affect it from outside. Okay? Okay, so let's continue. So you have a link to the article in the description, and if you're with the book Kabbalah for the Students, we're on page 379. The third reason, okay, so sometimes he calls it a factor, sometimes a reason. The third reason, internal cause and effect. This is the conduct of the internal cause and effect of the source, which change upon encountering the alien forces in its environment. Thus we find that from one stalk of wheat, which rots in the ground, many stalks emerge, sometimes larger and better wheat than prior to sowing. Therefore, there must be additional factors involved here, collaborating and connecting with the force concealed in the environment, meaning the source. And because of that, the additions in quality and quantity, and this is the important things, this is actually what changes quality and quantity, which were absent in the previous form of wheat, have now appeared. Those are the minerals and the materials in the ground, the rain and the sun, All these operate on it by administrating from their forces and joining the force within the source itself. And through the conduct of cause and effect, they have produced the multiplicity in quantity and quality in that emergence. Okay? So it's not just the forms of conduct, but it's also already changing by quantity and quality. Okay. We must understand that this third factor joins with the internality of the source, since the force hidden in the source controls them. This is very important because it's the quality and the quantity of something that is called the wheat, not just in general, or quality and quantity of something else, but it's determined by the source. In the end, all these changes belong to the wheat and to no other plant. Hence, we define them as internal factors. However, they differ from the second factor, which is utterly unchanging, whereas the third factor changes in both quality and quantity. Okay, so this is the third factor, or reason. The fourth reason, cause and effect through alien things. This is a conduct of cause and effect of alien things that act upon it from the outside. In other words, they have no direct relation to the wheat like minerals, rain, or sun, but are alien to it, such as nearby things or external events, such as hail, wind, etc. And you find that four factors combine to the wheat throughout its growth. Okay, so this is pretty clear, I hope. Because actually, when you want to talk about something and how it operates, you can talk about the internal information of that essence of something. You can talk about the information that controls how it will develop, and these are unchanging. And you can talk about an information that can actually change as a result of external forces, and this is something that is determined by the information of the source and the external forces. They combine together, and then you have a change in quality and quantity. Actually, all of evolution, if we talk about evolution in adapting, then we're talking then sometimes we can talk about without mutations. We just talk about a thing that executes its unchanging cause and effect. And if you're talking about mutations and evolution itself, you can talk about the changing factors from the third factor of the changing as a result of the source itself and the engagement with external forces. And also there we can divide to what we call regular evolution, or like DNA, or internal information, natural selection and all these theories. Or you can talk about epigenetics and the change, but it's all about quantity and quality. Okay. And also there are some misinformation there in these kind of theories, but that's not our topic, so let's continue. And also there are the external forces. Okay, so why did Baal HaSulam explain that? Because, to remind you, we're talking about free choice. So let's see. So each particular state that the wheat is subject to during that time becomes conditional on the four of them, and the quality and quantity of each state is determined by them. And as we have portrayed in the wheat, so is the rule in every emergence in the world, even in thoughts and ideas. Okay. If, for example, we picture to ourselves some conceptual state in a certain individual, such a state of a person being religious or non-religious, or an extreme orthodox or not so extreme, meaning that person's ideology or perception or attitude towards life, or midway, we will understand that state is determined in that person by the above four factors. Okay, so it's also determined by these four factors. Wow, how do you pronounce this word? Hereditary. It's like what comes from the ancestors, right? Hereditary. I cannot pronounce that, sorry. Let's check that. Today's word in English. Learning to pronounce. Part of the problem of learning, for me it's such a great example of the fact how language is something so social that you completely dependent on the environment for that, and if you do, it comes naturally, and if not, it's very artificial. So you need to read words, try to understand what they mean, and also you don't have a clue how to pronounce them because you never heard that in the natural environment. And if you just grow into that, it just like comes naturally without any effort. So that's a good example for spiritual growth.
Hereditary.
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 Hereditary. Okay, let's continue. Hereditary. I think I got it. Hopefully, if I won't forget it in 2 seconds. Hereditary possessions. Hereditary possessions. The cause of the first reason is the source, which is its first substance. Man is created existence from existence, meaning from the minds of its progenitors. No, באמת. We want advance today.
Progenitors.
I said it correctly.
Progenitors.
Progenitors, and that was hereditary. Okay, nice. 2 words in one lesson. Okay, man is created existence from existence, meaning from the minds of its progenitors. Thus, to a certain extent, it is like copying from book to book. This means that almost all the matters that were accepted and attained in the fathers and forefathers are copied here as well. You can relate to fathers and forefathers also as previous states, not necessarily as like protein body that gave birth to another protein body. But the difference is that they are in an abstract form, much like the sawed wheat, which is not fit for sowing until it has rotten and shed its former shape. So is the case with a drop of semen from which man is born. There is nothing in it of its forefathers' shapes, only abstract force. For the same ideas that were concept in his forefathers have turned into mere tendencies in him, called instincts or habits, without even knowing why one does what he does. This is very interesting. Okay, so this is a very interesting concept in nature. He'll elaborate more about that later on, but what was sometimes acquired as experience or thoughts or intellectual possession in the father actually becomes something very natural, like an instinct or something that is programmed, natural habit, in the offspring. Okay? And it's true, as I've said, not only between generations, but also between states. Indeed, there are hidden forces, just like a habit. Okay, so we know today from science that to acquire a habit, it takes you 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and then it becomes yours as an instinct. Okay, think about learning to drive. In the beginning, it's a lot of effort, knowing what to do and coordinating all these actions and all these things that do not connect, from your leg pressing the gas, your hand turning the, how do you call that in English? Like, you know, the light when you want to turn. What's the word for that actually? Never said that in English. And the back mirrors with your eyes and signaling. Okay, nice.
Signaling.
Yeah, signaling. So I guess you do that in the car as well, signaling. So the signaling light and the all these things, it's like pretty cool. Like that when you start to drive, you cannot imagine how somebody can actually use the radio or talk on the phone during driving. Like it's so complicated. And then later on it becomes like a habit. Okay, so it's very similar. Okay, so indeed there are hidden forces he had inherited from his ancestors in a way that not only do the... sorry. Okay, I was here. Indeed, there are hidden forces he had inherited from his ancestors in a way that not only do the material possessions come to us through inheritance from our ancestors, but the spiritual possessions and all the concepts that our fathers engage in also come to us by inheritance from generation to generation. Let's see. I want to see if I do questions. Let's finish this and then we'll do questions, okay? And from here surface the main four tendencies that we find in people, such as a tendency to believe or to criticize, a tendency to settle for material life, or desiring only ideas, despising a life without aspiration, stingy, yielding, insolent, or shy. Okay, these are all come from the ancestors. All these pictures that appear in people are not their own property, which they have acquired, but mere inheritance that had been given to them by their ancestors. Yeah, this is very clear when you have children of your own. You understand that you gave yourself too much credit in your education or what you did to give them, because having more children, you see how they are actually being born with certain qualities and with a specific nature. And your role as a father or mother is just trying not to corrupt it or ruin that too much, okay? So you give yourself less credit. In the beginning, it's a lot of pride that through buying baby Einstein stuff or all these crazy education things or these great educational books, bestsellers of how to bring your kid to be something, blah, blah, blah. Actually, well, mostly the internal attitude and the love and caring does it all, but you need to not destroy anything. It is known that there is just help to develop what was given by nature. It is known that there is a special place in the brain where these hereditaments reside. It is called I cannot pronounce this in English. Medulla oblongata. I don't know how to pronounce it in English, sorry. It's like the back mind. No, this is not it. No, this is not it. I want to do this, and then I want to see how to pronounce it.
Medulla oblongata.
Medulla oblongata. Okay, I wasn't too far away, although it sounds African somehow.
Medulla oblongata.
There is no such language as African, but many, like hundreds of languages, but still. Medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. Okay, I guess you got it. Okay. So, again, I'm going to say this hard sentence again. It is known that there is a special place in the brain where these hereditaments reside. It is called medulla oblongata, the elongated brain, or subconscious, and all the tendencies appear there. But because the concepts of our ancestors acquired through their experiences have become mere tendencies in us, they are considered the same as the salt wheat, which has taken off its former shape and remained bare, having only potential forces worthy of receiving new forms. So it's like a potential information. In our matter, these tendencies will rob the forms of concepts. This is considered the first substance, and this is the primary factor called the source. Okay, so this is the source, the layer of information, something that is like a very raw, potential, lacking any shape kind of information. But it's still the something that makes you, or makes the source, the thing that actually transcends or passes through the chain of different incarnations or above time and space, meaning unrelated to the external forces or shapes it acquires. In it reside all the forces of the unique tendencies he had inherited from his progenitors, which are defined as ancestral heritage. Bear in mind that some of these tendencies come in a negative form, meaning the opposite of the ones that were in his ancestors. This is why they said all that is concealed in the father's heart emerges openly in the son. The reason for it is that the source takes off its former shape in order to take on a new form, hence it is close to losing the shapes of the concept of its ancestors. Like the wheat that rots in the ground loses the shape that exists in the wheat. However, it still depends on the other three factors. Okay, so also something that can come in the complete opposite form from his ancestor, because it still has a relation, it relates somehow to this information, either in a positive way or a negative way. Still no answer to the question of free choice, but hopefully we're getting there. So let's see if we have questions. Make videos. What? Make videos, not war. Okay, that's a nice concept. Yeah, it's better to make videos than war. If the evolution theory is true, what happened to the apes that are in between a normal ape and us? Yeah, that's a big question. Is the evolution theory is true? So there is a concept of evolution, as we see that Kabbalists explain, but it's not working the same as Darwin actually depict or draw or explained, and even not as modern science added to that since that time. Don't want to get into that too much in this lesson, but there is a gap between one level of existence to the other, like still vegetative, animal, and speaking, and this gap is something that it's like a quality leap, and it's not something that happens through natural selection. It's like completely a new level of information that emerges. But how can we do? But how it comes to be, and this is something we need to explain. Max is saying thank you for your great efforts being here. He means actually trying to teach in English, I guess. Jack is seeing a blurry screen. I hope it got okay, because nobody else complained. Good morning, Ilan. Good morning, Benny. Shalom, Ilana. Stevie, what can we control? That's a big question, Stevie, okay? That's actually the question of the article, okay? If we have free choice, which is, it's a big question after analyzing everything that we see in our nature, and we being a result of all the ancestors, all the education, everything that is internal and external to us, we are existence from existence. So every action, every thought, everything we have, actually, it's a result of all the sequence of things that came to be before and the current circumstances. So that's actually what we're trying to scrutinize. Do we have something that is called a free choice? And if we do, where is that? And that's what you're actually asking. What can we control? Well, keep that question a bit longer, hopefully. The next lesson, or the one afterwards, will start to come into closure about that. Okay, no more questions. No more questions. Let's see if I want to start a new thing. Influence of the environment. That's too long. Okay, we'll have to wait with that. No, you know what? Let's do that pretty quick. Okay, let's do that. We have like 5 minutes. I guess everything is clear, right? Nobody's asking too complicated questions, so the general concept is clear. The second reason is an unchanging. Remember the second reason, that it's related to the source, but it's unchanging. So he talked now about the source when he talked about the hereditary possessions. I need to try less hard. Hereditary possessions. So that was talking about the source, about the information. Now he's talking about the influence of the environment, meaning the second reason is an unchanging, that it doesn't change as a result of the influence of the environment, right? The second reason is an unchanging direct conduct of cause and effect related to the source on attribute, meaning as we have cleared with the wheat that rots in the ground, the environment in which the source rests, such as soil, mineral, and rain, air, and the sun, affect the sowing by a long chain of cause and effect, in a long and gradual process, state by state, until they ripen. Okay, so this is confusing. Does it change as a result of the engagement with the environment, or doesn't it change? Okay, so what he actually wants to say is that it can either develop or not develop, but if it develops, then the second factor means that the sequence of actions, or the route, or the line in which it develops doesn't change, the cause and effect. And the source retakes its form and shape, the shape of wheat, by differing in quality and quantity. In the general aspect, they remain completely unchanged. Okay, this is important. The general aspect, they remain completely unchanged. Hence, no cereal or oats will grow from it. And also the series, meaning the sequence, not the series. The sequence won't change. It won't grow from a seed to a grown-up wheat, and then to a green one, and then blah, blah, blah. But in their particular aspect, they change in quantity, as from one stalk emerge a dozen or 2 dozen stalks, and in quality, as they are better or worse than the former shape of the wheat. Okay, so this starts to touch with the third factor. It is the same here. Man as a source is placed in an environment, meaning in the society, and he is necessarily affected by it, as the wheat from its environment, for the source is but a raw form. Thus, through the constant contact with the environment and the society, he is gradually impressed by them through a chain of consecutive I've said it nice. Consecutive states, one by one as cause and effect. At that time, the tendencies included in his source are changed and take on the form of concepts. For example, if one inherits from his ancestors a tendency to not going to fight it. Stinginess. What does it mean, stinginess, actually? I just realized I don't know. Stinginess, stingy, parsimonious, miserly, mean, close, or means relation to part with money or goods. He's like a cheap person, no? Or what? Let's see, what does it mean? Stinginess. Okay, where is Hebrew? Hebrew. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's like being cheap. Okay, so stinginess. Okay. Good. Okay, so back to the text. I don't have much time. For example, if one inherits from his ancestors a tendency to stinginess, as he grows, he builds for himself concepts and ideas that conclude decisively that it is good for a person to be stingy, meaning he acquires things that will justify him. Thus, although his father was generous, he can inherit from him the negative tendency to be stingy, for the absence is just as inheritance as the presence. Okay, I ran out of time. Okay, let's finish it. Or if one inherits from one's ancestors a tendency to be open-minded, he builds for himself ideals and draws from them conclusions that it is good for a person to be open-minded. It's like also politics or religion opinions. But where does one find those sentences and reasons? One takes all that from his environment unknowingly, for they impart to him their views and likings in the form of gradual cause and effect. Hence, man regards them as his own possession, which he acquired from his free thought. But there too, as with the wheat, there is one unchanging part of the source, which is that in the end the tendencies he had inherited remain as they were in his forefathers. And this is called the second factor. Okay, so there is a part of the information that actually is unchanging, and the way that it will develop or the shape that it will acquire, the sequence is unchanging, but it can change in quality and quantity by the impact of society. Okay, still we didn't touch base on what we can actually change, if we can change anything at all. Oh, that's a nice definition by Benny. Stinging, I cannot say that. Unbelievable. Stinginess, a lack of generosity. Yeah, okay, got it right. Yeah, being selfish. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, stinginess. I cannot say this word. Stinginess, whatever. Okay, that's it for today. A bit 1 minute after time. Sorry, I wanted to say goodbye nicely. We'll continue next time, which is like Thursday morning Israel time or Wednesday evening New York time, late night or whatever, and we'll take it from there. So bye for now. You can always ask questions like Leah does every time on the video on YouTube after it reloads and after it loads, and then I can answer that in the next lesson if you're watching this on demand and not live. So bye for now. See you next time.